Hello, this is another one of my riveting videos looking at Dreamcast magazine. This is Dreamcast magazine issue number 11. It was released on the 13th of July 2000. And more than any other issue, this features quite a lot of unreleased games for the Dreamcast. So let's go ahead and have a look. The cover, as you will know, features Colin McRae Rally 2, one of the most elusive games for the Dreamcast. If you follow the Dreamcast Junkyard, you will note that I did actually get to play a 30% complete version of Colin McRae Rally 2. I'll put a link in the description below so you can go and have a look at that if you've not seen it, or just look back through my other videos, you'll find it. Like as I said, there's a lot of unreleased stuff in here, so I find it quite interesting. Unfortunately, this issue is not in the best condition. Some of the pages are loose, so when I get to those, I will just take them out and move them to one side. Okay, so let's start. As is the norm, we have the editorial from editor Simon Phillips, and again the contents pages. I won't dwell too long on these because you can't really see them that well on this this video. So the first main story we get is a look at Unreal Tournament for the Dreamcast, which is a slightly odd game because even though it's widely known for its online aspect, certainly in PAL territories, the online gameplay was stripped out, just like it was with Daytona. In the US, however, they did get to play online multiplayer. It's still quite a good game, local multiplayer, but it's not really quite the same as playing against other people over the internet, as you would imagine. Okay. This page we have the first look at Skies of Arcadia, or Eternal Arcadia, and a look at UFC, a game which, you know, it splits opinion. It's one of the more graphically impressive games on the Dreamcast, but the gameplay style, you know, probably left a lot of people, it certainly left me cold when I first played it. There's a little bit down here on the Sega and Motorola collaboration to bring games to mobile phones back in the early 2000s. It didn't, you know, obviously technology wasn't as good as it is now, so the games are very rudimentary. You can't see it here, but there's a little picture of like a Sonic game on a Motorola dot matrix screen. Okay, here we have Polaris Snowcross, which is a game that tries its best to be a game in the similar mold to Hydro Thunder, but with snowmobiles, but it's not really on the same level, to be honest. PlayStation-esque graphics and pretty annoying and bad slidey controls. Not really one to seek out, but if you find it, then find it cheap, then by all means. Okay, let's move to the first of the unreleased games. This one is one I've never actually heard of before until looking through this magazine. And that is a game called Sanity Aiken's Artifact, which was going to be brought to the Dreamcast by Fox Interactive, according to this little news item here. It's a sci-fi RPG. I've never heard of it before. You were meant to play a character called Agent Nathaniel Kane with psionic powers. Again, as I always do, I will scan these images and put them on the Dreamcast Junkyard main site so you can have a look at them. Here we've got some screens of the unreleased Planet of the Apes game. It wasn't based on the movie that came out around this time, the Tim Burton one. It was based on just the original books, I believe, and films. But it had a whole new kind of narrative. And very little is known about this because it was cancelled quite early on. I believe that these screens are probably mock-ups. They don't look like actual gameplay screens. But yeah, there's not a lot of information about the Planet of the Apes game for any of the systems that it was released, well, going to be released for. Moving on, we have this game here, which is a game from Sierra called Game Room, which was a collection of, from what you can tell from here, is a collection of mini games. So you've got air hockey, pool, some kind of weird kind of sliding, like billiard type game. I don't know what the hell that's meant to be. Again, I'll put these scans up on the Dreamcast Junkyard so you can see them. Some information here about Illbleed, game that didn't come out here in the UK. And we've got some information here about System Shock 2, again, a game that never came to the Dreamcast. There is a Dreamcast build online, but it's very, very, very incomplete. It's literally like one room and a corridor. If you go on YouTube, or you're probably on YouTube watching this, if you're not, then go there, and you will find video of Dreamcast System Shock, and it's literally like a room and a corridor. So there's not a lot to look at. But over here we've got some screens of Dark Angel Vampire Apocalypse, which was a third-person kind of roaming vampire killing RPG come beat 'em up thing, which again was cancelled. And then we've got Disperia, another odd game. As far as I'm concerned, I've never played it, but I believe it did come out in Japan, and I don't really know that much about it. Okay, here we have some more information on Buffy the Vampire Slayer, a game that started life on the Dreamcast but then crossed over onto the Xbox. I have played it on the Xbox and it's actually quite good. And so, you know, I'm guessing that the Dreamcast version would have been quite similar, just with slightly downgraded graphics, or graphics that weren't as impressive as they were on the original Xbox. Also here, some information on Gorka Morka, which was a Warhammer style game. It was based on the Warhammer mythos. And yeah, not a lot is known really about it. It kind of is one of them games that was announced. There was a few screenshots released and then it just vanished into the ether. Advert here for Nomad Soul. Here we have some information on a game from our old friends Promethean Designs, Fortress, which was, it looks to me like some kind of, not Angry Birds, but kind of like, what's that game on the Vita, that Castle Crashers or something it's called? And yeah, you just have to destroy each other's castle. It's kind of like a puzzle RPG type thing. Over here we've got Legend of the Blade Masters. That's another one that was cancelled. It looks like all of these going forward were cancelled. We've got World's Scariest Police Chases, another one that was cancelled. This is import news. So we've got a little bit here about Derby Stallion and SNK pulling out of the European and American markets here. Not really a great deal of anything of interest here. This is where the magazine kind of gets a bit tatty, so I'll move these pages out of the way. It's just an advert for Wacky Races anyway. So here's a feature on Le Mans 24 Hours, which is one of the Dreamcast's best racing games. You've probably already played it, so I won't dwell too long on that one. Here we have a PC to Dreamcast special. We've got some information on the proposed Max Payne. Since these images were released, the developer has come out and said, as far as I know, that the Dreamcast version of Max Payne never actually entered, you know, the starting stages of development. These are all PC images, as far as I know. People may disagree with that, but I'm just retelling what I read and what I have heard. So there's a couple more here. Could these games be heading from the PC to the Dreamcast? So you've got Neverwinter Nights and Sheep. Competition here for the Tim Burton film, what's it called? Sleepy Hollow. And then some Batman comics and things down here. Some information about KO the Kangaroo and Aqua GT, but here it's still known as Hydro Sport Racing. Again, another game we've featured heavily on the Dreamcast Junkyard is Aqua GT, so I'm not going to dwell too long on that one. Said dwell a bit weirdly then, but, you know, bear with me. Dinosaurs, Disney game. Crap. Okay, we've got some stuff here on Tropico, which was a kind of empire building game, which did come to the Xbox 360 and the PC. And also some screenshots here of Heavy Metal Factor. I'm not sure what FAC stands for. I know it stands for something, but it doesn't actually mention here in the copy what it does actually stand for. First look at Time Stalkers and Aero Wings 2, which I quite like, even though it's, you know, there's not a lot to do in it other than fly around. Mad Force Racing, another game that had great potential. I believe it's based on Killer Loop on the PlayStation, but it's quite slow until you get to the later stages. Deep Fighter preview. Tokyo Highway Challenge 2. And then the main kind of forecast story is Metropolis Street Racer. It's hard to remember a time when things like Metropolis Street Racer weren't actually out on the Dreamcast, because they are like the killer app, one of the killer app games. But yeah, this was prior to MSR being released. Sydney 2000. Not the best game. Certainly not the best athletics game on the Dreamcast. Formula 1 Racing Championship. That was the last Formula 1 game released for the Dreamcast. And Virtua Tennis. Again, as I was saying, it's hard to imagine a time when these games haven't, been released yet. But obviously, there was a time, because that was when this magazine came out. Mac and X. And an advert here for Game Boy Color. F1 World Grand Prix 2, which is, an improvement on F1 World Grand Prix. Probably my favourite F1 game for the Dreamcast. Carrying on. And then we've got the part 1, or the first part proper of the black and white development diary. And this is being written by Pete Hawley, Lionhead, head of production for black and white. Interestingly, Lionhead have actually announced recently that they're actually shutting down, so that's quite sad news, but quite appropriate, when you're looking at things like this. Okay, the main cover story is Colin McRae Rally 2. Now, as I said earlier on, I have played the 30% complete demo version, which I'm led to believe is the only version available anywhere. I don't own it, and I can't release it or dump it, so don't ask. But these shots here show environments which I didn't see in that demo, so I'm speculating here that these are from the PC version. So, they're kind of mingling shots from the Dreamcast version with ones from the PC version. I might be wrong. If Simon Phillips is watching this, please, let me know if you did it, or that's they are Dreamcast shots. So yeah, it's, more information here. You've got some little images of like the track being rendered and some wireframes up here. And according to this, it was 50% complete, and the version I played was only 30% complete. So take from that what you will. Okay, Park Life. I mentioned this in the last video, where the staff from the magazine would go down to like a Sega park and play games. So you've got Sega Rally 2 here, and they had like a bit of a competition, so you could get the highest score in different games. Daytona 2 and Silent Scope, Virtua Tennis. Then we move into the review section. So here we've got Marvel vs. Capcom 2, great game, and this got an 89%. Moving on, we've got South Park Rally. That got 63%. NHL 2K, this game blew my mind when I first played it. I'd never played an ice hockey game with graphics as good as this back then. Obviously, since then I've played NHL 2016 on the PS4, which is mind-blowing. But, back then, this was as good as it got. And this got 85%. I believe one of the negative points was because it's an American sport, which would have limited appeal. Not sure that's entirely fair to mark it down. But Buster Move 4, 84%. Advert here for gameplay. Super Runabout. See, the thing with Super Runabout is that it's got a lot of great ideas, but it's just really poorly executed. And it got 48% in this magazine, but I think that's a bit harsh. And I don't think it looks that bad either. I mean, they gave it 51% for visuals. I'm quite a defender of Super Runabout. I might do a quick look at one of those, those articles I do on the Junkyard about different games that you may have overlooked. I might do one on Super Runabout in the near future, just to, dispel some myths about it. Rainbow Six, 78%. And then we come to the Interact section. So we've got the mailbox, and we've got reader reviews. Here we've got Resident Evil Code Veronica, 96%, Buggy Heat, 86%, Sega Bass Fishing, 90%, and another Resident Evil Code Veronica, 95%. Guide here on getting on to online with Choo Choo Rocket, and a little bit here about in Europe we have these kind of quite, not racist, but a bit kind of dodgy adverts where they would like take stereotypes from each country and then use them as a way to mock the others. So we have these, believe it or not, they actually projected these onto the sides of the Houses of Parliament. You can see that in these screenshots here. Not the best idea Sega Europe's ever had, but At least it got people talking about the Dreamcast. This is a guide to internet websites even. And then solutions, so just cheats for different games. I'm not going to look at these too much. Part 2 of the Resident Evil Code Veronica guide. Moving on. Adverts, and then we've got the directory at the back. DVD reviews, Sleepy Hollow, Stigmata. God, it brings back memories looking at these like DVD reviews and stuff on the sides. Comics over there. Yeah, so I've got the stuff and nonsense page. I do like looking through these. We've got cameras, big ass tellies over there. Photo cube with sticky photos in it. Massive novelty. Data bank. Jesus, do you remember those? I had one of those. I tried to convince myself I knew enough people's phone numbers that I could have one and put people's phone numbers in it. Never used it. Adverts. Big advert for Choo Choo Rocket. I believe there was a competition in Europe to be the European champion, and that's what this is advertising. Okay, next issue was on sale on the 10th of August 2000. That's issue 12. And then we've got subscriptions and Dream Moment, which is beating House of the Dead 2. And on the back page, we've got an advert for V-Rally 2. So that is Dreamcast Magazine, issue number 11, and I hope you enjoyed it, looking at some of these unreleased games. As I said before, I will scan these pages and I'll put them on the Dreamcast Junkyard. Just type Dreamcast into Google and it's like one of the first results you'll find. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video and thanks for watching.